this male friend, he was the girl them sugar. What makes you up is your patterns, is your behaviors, is your habits. This is mad, like, to even hear this, right? You have to manage self-control because that could improve your relationships, right? And for some of you watching this right now, your relationships might not be the best. Instant gratification. It's about what we can have now, what we can have today, okay? I believe that whatever we do today, we're planting seeds for our tomorrow. Eating that triple cheeseburger once ain't gonna hurt. Then what are you doing? So having self-control can help you to make better decisions because you realize that you're not a slave to anything. You can't just put yourself in those same environments and expect it to be easy, right? Because you're going to be easily triggered. Listen, I was like, Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Shan. If you're new here, welcome. If you're regular here, you already know what time it is, right? I'm happy that you're here with me right now because I want to speak to you guys, right, about self-control. And why it's important, because I'm getting into it, right? We're getting into it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe because you would definitely be back. I know for a fact that you'll be back, right? And I'm saying, I want to see you again. I want to see your face again, okay? So where was I going with this? I need to breathe. I need to breathe and slow it down, all right? But listen, so I've been doing a bit of reading on self-control and just having conversations with people, right, that want to have a better life, people that want to achieve their goals, people that want to live out their God-given purpose, right, and live out their dream life and be the best versions of themselves. And that might be you watching this, right? You might want better, you might want change, you might be fed up of where you're at right now and you're like, you know what, there's more to me. You might be thinking there's more to me, right? What might get in the way is our lack of self-control, okay? Now you might be saying, why is self-control important? I don't really need to explain what self-control is, right? It just means being in control of yourself. Being in control of yourself. I believe that self-control is important, right? Because it enables you to regulate your emotions and manage impulses and not to become reactive, meaning that when you have the urge to do something, you don't just do it impulsively without thinking, right? It's important to know how to manage all those things, okay? Because this can impact your goals, okay? This can impact the person that you become. This can impact your everyday life. If you do things irrationally, you do things based off impulse, you do things just because you feel like it, right? And a lot of the time, when we don't exercise self-control, we're looking for instant gratification, okay? We just want to be satisfied in the moment. It doesn't really give you time to think about the long-term consequences, okay? Your long-term goals and what the future might hold. And sometimes it's just about the here and the now, okay? If you want it now, you can have it now. If you want them clothes, you can buy them now. If you want that food, you can have it now. If you want that girl, you can have it now. If you want that man, you can have it now, right? Instant gratification, okay? And thinking very short term, that can affect your life long term, right? Because I truly believe that whatever we do today is going to impact our tomorrow. I believe that whatever we do today, we're planting seeds for our tomorrow. And we have to think about, what do we want to harvest? What do we want to reap? What do we want to see in our life? We need to be thinking long term and not short term, because that can get us in trouble. That can have you living with regrets. That can have you questioning why you made certain decisions, okay? So exercising self-control is so important, right? But also what I do love, I'm saying what I do love, I used to hate this, right? But it exercises discipline, right? And if you haven't got discipline, if you haven't got discipline with your money, if you haven't got discipline with your eating, if you haven't got discipline with any area of your life, if there's an imbalance, right? Listen, from personal experience, right, and from what I know about self-control, it helps you to have more of a fulfilled life, more of a successful life, because when you're disciplined, right, and you have self-control, a lot of the time you're achieving better things that are going to serve you, that are going to add value to your life. Listen, I really admire people that have self-control and discipline, because it's something that is hard, right? Let's be honest, it's not easy. If they're having self-control and discipline over something that they once found challenging, right, you know that it took some sort of resilience and consistency for them no longer to give in to that urge or no longer to give in to that impulse. Let me give you an example, right? So I was speaking to a male friend the other day. Now this male friend, he was the girl them sugar. He was known to have girls and, you know, to be that guy, right? He was known to be that guy, right? And he's on this journey of just focusing on himself and not having sex, right? And being abstinent, okay? And I was like, huh? Listen, I was like, huh? Now this male friend, he was the girl them sugar. You know what I'm trying to say? You know that he can, you know what I'm trying to say? You know that he can get the women, right? And he was just saying, nah, that he's focused on himself and he wants to learn discipline. He wants to learn discipline and about pouring all that energy and focus into himself, okay? Because now he's realizing that not having self-control isn't serving him any good. Not having self-control and giving various women his attention and his focus isn't serving him any good. Yeah, he's realizing that it requires a lot of time, a lot of energy, right? And he's saying he'd rather pour that into himself to see who he could become being a disciplined man. And I listen, when he said that to me, right, and he's saying it's nearly been a year, right, I've not been intimate with anybody. Now when you, if you know him, right, he's the goddamn sugar. So I'm saying, right, this is mad, like, to even hear this, right? And it's inspiring to hear, okay? Because just because he can have it, it doesn't mean that he should, right? Just because he has the urge, it doesn't mean that he should. And I'm so proud, like, I'm so inspired, right? And I'm on this journey too. But now we ain't talking about me, we're talking about him. Okay, you too nosy. Listen. I feel like there's something beautiful about not giving in to your urges, not giving in to the impulses, right? You become empowered. You become so empowered because you realize what you can do. You realize that actually, right, I'm in control. With God's help, right, I'm in control. Feel happier because you realize that you're not a slave to anything, right? And nothing can control you unless you allow it to, okay? And this is a beautiful thing. Like, I'm loving this journey that I'm on, and just speaking to my male friends, like, just loving that we don't have to be a slave to anything. And you know what? You see, like, people that are easily triggered, easily angered, and they say, oh, that person made me angry. That person did this, so I reacted, right? Sometimes people feel that there's strength in showing people how angry they are and getting revenge, right? But that's not real self-control, because you're triggered and you're angry. You're reactive because of what somebody else has done. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's not real self-control. Real self-control is you being triggered and you responding and not reacting, okay? And you know what, we're humans, okay? No one's a robot, so sometimes you might act out of character, okay? But for the most part, right, what makes you up is your patterns, is your behaviors, is your habits, okay? So we need to develop the mindset, right, of prioritizing long-term benefit rather than focusing on short-term gratification, okay? Because if it's short-term, that means it's going to last short-term, okay? We want things that are going to last long-term. We want things that are going to be sustained, okay? We don't want quick and easy, because if you get it quick, you can lose it quick, okay? Like I said, having self-control is necessary in all areas of our life, and allows you, right, allows us, right, to resist instant gratification and focus on achieving goals that require sustained effort and discipline, right? And that's important because time is something that we can't get back. Sometimes we can improve our health, okay? We can always get money back. We can always get experiences back, but time is something that we can't get back. So if you're doing things, right, and you're thinking short term, if you're thinking about the here and the now, right, that means that you're not thinking ahead. And I think a lot of the time we get very tunnel visioned when we're focused on the instant gratification, when we're focused on what we want now, okay? But that can have you doing things, right, that go against your morals, that go against what you truly believe at your core is right. Having self-control can help you to make better decisions, okay? Now, like I said, you don't want to have regrets. You don't want to look back and realize that a large proportion of your life involved you just acting impulsively, right? You being reactive. You don't want to do that because, like I said, you might have regrets. So having self-control can help you to make better decisions and have you thinking before you act. All right, rather than living your life by impulsive actions, which can have long-term consequences. And I'm saying you ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that. But also, I truly believe that having self-control can improve relationships, right? Because if you're in a relationship, and I don't mean just a romantic relationship, but let's talk about friendships, family, anyone that you're in constant communication with, right? Listen, if you haven't got self-control, that means that you will say things that you might not mean. You might say things that might hurt another person. You might say things that you might regret. You might say things, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and I'm saying, nah, you have to manage self-control because that could improve your relationships, right? And for some of you watching this right now, your relationships might not be the best. And that's because you might be saying things and doing things because you just want to do what you want to do. You just want to do things based on how you feel, right? And sometimes, right, when we do things irrationally, when we do things based on our feelings with no discipline, right, we can hurt other people. We can hurt other people in the meanwhile, okay? And I'm saying sometimes we go against our own morals and what's right because we're just going by how we feel. We're just going by our emotions. You know, if we feel like it, we're just going to do it. And I'm saying we have to exercise self-control and discipline if we want to see our relationships flourish, okay? When we're operating from a place of a lack of self-control, we're not considering other people, and we can become very selfish, right, in those moments, okay? And sometimes we can do things that aren't serving us, okay, that can be hurtful in the long term. Like, for example, overeating, okay? You could be overeating, and in the moment, them foods taste good, right? In the moment, it tastes good. And doing it once or twice might be all right. You know what I'm trying to say? Eating that triple cheeseburger once ain't gonna hurt, but doing that consistently over and over again, right? That's when you know that that's no good for you. So I'm saying self-control has to kick in. And listen, right, self-control isn't something that just happens. Self-control isn't just something that we say. You might say, you know what, I'm gonna stop buying all these clothes. You might say, I'm gonna stop overeating. You might say that I'm gonna just stop doing all of this stuff. And then you say it, and the next day you're doing it again, right? It's just crazy. It's crazy. You might just go back to doing it again, and you're like, but Shan, I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I'm still doing it. What's going on, right? A lot of the time we form habits, right, that become so ingrained that it becomes autopilot and it just comes so easy to us, okay? So having self-control is a skill that is learned, is a skill that is practiced, okay? You have to practice at it, and you have to be intentional with practicing, okay? When I say be intentional, that means that you need to put things in place to make it easier for you to have self-control, right? Sometimes we need self-control over our eating. Some of you guys might be taking drugs and drinking too much. And I'm saying self-control needs to kick in that area, okay? It might mean that you have to stop hanging around certain people, stop putting yourself in certain environments, right? And this is what I mean. It's about being intentional, being deliberate about helping this to be easy for you, okay? This needs to become easier for you, but you have to help yourself in those moments. You can't just put yourself in those same environments and expect it to be easy, right? Because you're going to be easily triggered, okay? So you have to do things to help yourself, right? If you want better for your life, you've got to be intentional, and that starts with the decisions that you're making every day. Every day, the decisions that you make are forming the person that you are forming the life that you have, right? And I'm saying if you want better, if you want change and you don't like where you're at, you want to change, you want to improve, you know what I'm trying to say? It starts with the decisions that you're making. So you got to make different decisions, different choices, and you have to show up in a different way. You can't just do the same thing and expect different results. And I'm saying, nah. So you might have to stop buying snacks and stop having snacks in your cupboard at home, right? Because listen, right, if you're someone that overeats, right, I'm asking you this right now, okay? You might do your weekly shopping, right? And you have your snack cupboard and you have your chocolates, your biscuits, your crisps, this, that, and the other, right? And I'm saying you're waking up in the night, before you go to bed, you're having a little binge, okay? You're making it harder for yourself by having that snack cupboard. I don't want to hear, oh, it's for the kids, it's for the grandkids. I'm saying, nah, right? What about you? What about you? I'm saying, right, if you didn't have that snack cupboard, if you didn't have all those snacks in your house, right, would you leave your house in the night to go and get that? And some of you watching this right now might be like, yeah, yeah, I would. Actually, I would, right? But if you compare having all the stuff in your house to then not having it in your house, right, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have as much. I've tested it with the patients that I used to support at my old job, and a lot of them would stop snacking as much. A lot of them would stop binging as much because they didn't keep the snacks in their house, okay? So when it comes to exercising self-control, you have to do things to make it hard for you to give in to what triggers you, okay? So then you're not acting on urges, you're not acting on impulse, and it gives you time to think about what you're doing, okay? So even if you did decide that you're going to go to the shop, now you've got enough time to think about this, okay? You've got enough time to think this through. You've got enough time to question why you're doing it. You've got enough time to talk yourself out of it. Or if you don't talk yourself out of it, you've got enough time to think about not buying the whole packet, but just to buy one. Okay, so I'm saying you've got to do something to help yourself in these situations. Exercising self-control can improve our decision making, okay? And that's what this is about, isn't it? Because every time you're not controlled, You're making a decision, okay? You're making a choice, right? Which, like I said, can impact your life and end up with long-term negative consequences. And we can't always think in the moment. We can't always go based on how we feel, okay? Doing things just based on how we feel can get us into trouble, can get us into a drama, can get us into a madness, right? Can cause us stress. If you're someone that overspends, right, and you have no self-control over your money management, in the moment it might feel good, okay? You can do what you want, you can buy what you want, you can, you know what I'm trying to say? And I get it, you know, life is for living. But if you're not managing your money and thinking long term, okay, what do you want to leave behind for your children? How do you want to spend your retirement, right? You might end up regretting some of these foolish decisions that you're making right now and not having self-control and just giving into the urges and just saying yes at any given opportunity, right? So I'm saying we've got to slow that right down. We've got to slow that right down. And listen, let me give you an example, right? Because you know I love an example. Let me give you another example, right? In the Bible, Samson falls in love with Delilah, right? Delilah is a Philistine, right? The Philistines don't like Samson. They don't mess with Samson, right? So Samson falls in love with someone that he shouldn't really be messing with, but he does, okay? The Philistines say to Delilah, yo, we will give you money if you let us know, right, where Samson gets his strength from, because he's strong and we don't understand why he's so strong, okay? Now, Delilah's been bribed with money, okay? So there's a lesson from both sides, Samson and Delilah. She's been bribed with money to find out from Samson where he gets his strength from, okay? Samson didn't trust her, and I'm thinking, Samson, why are you with her if you don't trust her? He loved her, but he didn't trust her. Why are you with her if you don't trust her? He should never have been with Delilah in the first place, right? Man told her, he told her where his strength was, right, which was in his hair. Like, why did he tell her? Like, even now I'm like, you knew you didn't trust her, okay, but his feelings were involved. So Samson exposed himself to something that he shouldn't have exposed himself to because he weren't self-controlled, okay? He let his lust get in the way. He ended up being deceived. He ended up dying in the end. Basically, Samson got set up. He got set up, right, by the woman that he loved, but he was never supposed to be with her anyway. But what did he do? He allowed his lust to go against his morals, all right? Because morally, back then, it wasn't right for him to be with a Philistine woman, okay? Because Philistines were his enemies. And I'm saying, Samson, right? There was loads of other women that he could have went with. And I'm like, why did you have to go with this woman? And that's simply because of his lust. That's simply because he went based on how he felt, right? And had no self-control. And look, he had to face the consequences because she ended up deceiving him. She was a traitor. She set him up, all for money, right? So she had no self-control either. You know what I'm trying to say? And she ended up dying too. So I'm saying, yo, it was a madness. Listen, I'm on this journey of exercising self-control, becoming more disciplined in my life, right? You know, just being more, and some people might see having self-control and discipline as being boring, being too serious, but actually I find that the more that I'm doing it, I'm flourishing more. Everyone else that I've spoken to completely agrees, and we're all singing from the same hymn sheet that the more you are disciplined, the more you have self-control, you get better results, okay? You might not get the results today, you might not see the fruits today, but trust me, keep going. Keep going, keep being consistent, and it will pay off, right? It will pay off, okay? And I always ask this question, what do you want for your life, right? What do you want for your life? Because the decisions that you're making today are going to impact your tomorrow, okay? So if you want a better life, you have to really question, are the choices that you're making serving you for the short term or the long term? If they're serving you for the short term, then you may need to reevaluate if these choices you're making are choices that you want to keep doing. You know what I'm trying to say? You got to really question yourself, because I'm saying, what do you want for your life, okay? What do you want for your life? And I can't tell you what you want for your life, okay? You might be happy with the short-term instant gratifications, okay? But I'm saying, if you want better, it might mean that you need to change your choices. It might mean that you need to change the things that you're doing, okay? Stop making it so easy for you to give in to the trigger. You've got to do what you've got to do. If that means that you're an overspender, right? That might mean deleting the clothes apps off your phone, right? If you're an overeater, that might mean deleting the food apps off your phone. And you might say, well, Shan, I can just download them again. And I get that, right? But whilst you're downloading them, you're giving yourself more time to think about what you're doing and why they went on your phone in the first place, right? And what you're doing is really slowing down that process, so it gives you time to think things through. You're giving yourself time to really question, is this what you want to do? Does this align, right, with your goals, with your morals, with what God wants for your life, okay? And if it doesn't, then you have to question, should you be doing this? You know, you got to question, is this something you should be doing, right? I don't know what you want for your life. I don't know what you want for your life, and I'm hoping that you're starting to question what you want for your life, because you gotta want better. You gotta want better. As per usual, I hope you've taken something from this video, because even speaking about it, I've taken something from it, right? And this is why I enjoy speaking, because I learn things as I'm talking. I'm like, you know what, Shan, that's a good point. You know what, that's a good point, right? That is a good point, right? So I'm saying, I hope you've taken something from it. If you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe. Also, I'm very aware that a lot of my subscribers don't see my videos, okay? So if you don't want to miss out on any videos that I drop, make sure that you subscribed, but also turn on your notifications, so when I do drop a video, you're the first one to watch it, because I know that's what you want. I know that's what you want. Let's work on self-control. Let's work on becoming more disciplined, thinking long-term and not short-term. Come on, man. We can do it, guys. We can do it. I believe in you. I don't even know who's watching this, but I believe in you. Because you gotta believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then what are you doing? You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Holla.